welcome to this new segment of our page. It's called Off Camera, and it's to talk with whoever interviews the actors, whoever writes the scripts, and people from the staff. So it's behind the scenes of all the thing. And for our new episode, we have LoveCast Podcast, our lovely girls that everyone loves, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Okay. Well, hi. I'm Pixie. I am 33 years old from Norway.
Yes. Hi, I'm Alexa. I am 27. I had to think about that for a second. And I am in the United States.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm 26, also in the States. And yeah, that's it.
Happy to be here.
So we're from all over the world. That's good. And I'm actually not the oldest, the youngest this time. Like I'm 26 and I'm from Portugal. So
nice.
Okay, so let's start with the first part, that is how to get the interview. So first I want to know, like, how was your first experience? When did you suddenly decide, like, let's start interviewing actors or artists, and how it went, like the first experience?
Well, we started this was before Kayla joined us on as a permanent host. Me and Alexa were just like discussing, like, we could invite someone on, like, why not just do it?
Throw it out there. Yeah.
So we started randomly looking up if we could find emails or line numbers that we could message, and just started messaging whoever we came across. And it was really random that we got an answer.
Yeah, I feel like we were still very new at it, so we hadn't honed in our type of greeting when reaching out to people. We were mainly reaching out to actors who could speak English, because we didn't have, obviously, interpreter at the time. So yeah, we were just kind of dived headfirst and just throwing stuff out there. And of course Perth was the one who got back to us. And at the time, he was just kind of starting up his YouTube channel and trying to get into that. So I think because he was also in between projects, COVID was still pretty bad in Thailand, so a lot of productions weren't happening. And he was just kind of I'll ask my manager, but it sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
And next thing we knew, we were talking to Perth, and it was just very, very random. It just kind of happened. And we had 80 subscribers on YouTube at the time. So we did not have a lot of street cred as a podcast yet. So the fact that he agreed was really something.
I remember us being oh, this was pretty easy. This is gonna be easy going forward. This is gonna be great. No, it wasn't. We were so lucky with getting Perth on, and he is such a nice guy. And like Alexa said, he just had the time and let us use him
for 3 hours.
I had the exact same feeling with the first one, because I think the first one is the lucky strike.
Yeah.
Because I also reached Momo, because she started following our Twitter, and I was okay, she's nice, let me ask her. Because at the time I forgot that we have to go through some managers. I was no, let's go directly to the actors. And she was oh, okay, so but what about bringing this and this? And I was sure, why not? Instead of one, let's make 3. I'll never do that again. Managing an interview 3 people is a first interview. No, but she was very nice, and I was oh, this was pretty easy. All of them will be. No, they're not.
Yeah. Now, and it was pretty easy getting Drake on too. That was pure luck.
That I don't know.
I don't know how.
Never had that same luck with the GMMTV artists ever since. And it happened on very short notice. Like I reached out to his manager on like a Tuesday and they were like, you can interview him Friday at this time. And I was like, well, this is our only shot with like Drake, like our first GMMTV artist. Like that's a big name. And so
I had to do it alone.
Yeah, because it was like in the middle of my work day, and Coco, who was our other co-host at the time, was also caught up in work. And so we were like, we can't lose this opportunity, but like it's such short notice that neither of us can call off of work. So poor Pixie was just like in it alone, interviewing Drake. It was like our second or third actor interview.
Yeah, I think it was our second. Like it was insane. And I had no like experience going on alone. I didn't know what I was supposed to be expecting. And it was just like, it was really nerve-wracking. And you can listen to the episode, you can just hear my voice trembling.
I know the feeling.
She was a trooper though.
When I did the first one, I was supposed to do with the other girl that was with me on the project. She left the project, and I knew all of that. Like she was supposed to write the script too, so she left a week before. And I was like, in a week I had to find a new translator because the one I had was like not getting into it. I had to write the whole script, send to them, and I was like, this is going to be like a huge fail because this is not going to work. But luckily it did. But you can see like my face throughout the whole interview. I'm just like inner praying for everything.
Everything goes smoothly.
I feel that.
I think like the fact that we started in the middle of the pandemic, it like helped us because we had so much free time usually. So it helped with all the massive work. Now we have Heather, which she's invaluable. Like we cannot get anything done without her, but she wasn't there at the beginning. And it had to be like because we had extra time because of the pandemic. And I broke my wrist, so I was sitting
couldn't work.
home.
Okay. So it's a bad thing that turned out to be something good, let's just say that.
It's never good to break your wrist, but
exactly.
It helps when you're trying to grow a podcast and you have nothing better to do with your time.
Yep. I was literally just medicated at home for like 2 months.
Damn. But like for the crazy things, it's me. I'm everywhere. So whenever, especially texting the managers, which is sometimes
it's so much work.
I was about to ask, how is your preparation for talking with the managers? Like, do you have like a template, or do you just see like the series that they're about to drop? Or if you search for like newbies, how do you select and how do you approach the manager or the actors? Because sometimes it can be both.
So I feel like we go through like waves of how organized we are with that. Like when we first started, like Pixie said, we were just kind of like reaching out to anyone. And then we were like, maybe we should make a list so that we're not all, overlapping. And since there was a couple of us reaching out, like double messaging people or something like that. And then we brought Heather on and she was like, this needs to be more organized. So like we had like a Google document going where she was putting like all of the information of like what series they were in, all the places we could contact them, dates that we reached out and followed up and all of that stuff. And so we were utilizing that for a while. And I feel like now we're just kind of like not winging it per se, but I think we're going more like with the flow of like who has a series coming up, who is promoting something, taking more of that stuff into consideration as opposed to just like getting on whoever we can get whenever we can get. Because
and we've had like a lot of guests this far, so we do have like some connections sort of like behind the scenes, like not a lot by any stretch, but there are some really like people who have become like good friends of the podcast and are really like supportive, and that we can reach out to sort of get connected to other people that we want to have on the podcast. So that helps. So it's sort of like goes back and forth between that and the list. And now we do have like a lot to talk about. So it's more of balancing what we want on the podcast, because we don't want it to just be an interview podcast. We want to talk about things that matter and things that's happening. And if we have guests on, we can't do that. So
I definitely think when we first started being able to get guests on, we were like, we have to get as many guests on as we can as possible. And there would be times where we'd have like 3 interviews in a month, and then just like one random episode where it was just us talking, and we would like almost forget like how to just have a normal episode because we had been just like piling on the interview. So I think we found a really good balance of, like Pixie said, doing what we want in terms of conversation and series reviews and that kind of stuff, but also still having the interviews because it's really exciting and it's always a really fun opportunity, just kind of like spacing them out more and working them in more to the flow of the podcast.
Yeah, and we do want like people who are listening to like be sort of a part of the interviews. That's why we always ask, like, do anyone have any questions? Because we don't want it to be about us meeting people that we've seen in shows. Like, it's not just about us. Like, we want it to be a community. We want everyone to be in on it. So especially like on our Discord server, especially our Patreons that are there will know about every interview we have before everyone else. So they get the first chance to ask. And then we let everyone else know when it gets closer. So.
Yeah, because I think that this is something that people don't like that's behind that people don't think. I think it's just reaching out to managers and setting the interview and it's done. But having that support circle is very important, because especially in the beginning, because we need people to trust us, but we also need like friends and someone to support and believe in us, even though that when we start, we don't have like that credibility that everyone expects. So we do that the same. Like we have that little fans group that we've been together since You're My Sky. And when I said, like, I'm going to do the first interview, they're like, okay, just tell me when it's going to air. Just do it. Like, do like this. Don't ask this. Don't ask that. Especially because we have our beloved Nuxie, and she's amazing with Thai culture, which is it's very helpful, because she always says, like, don't ask this. Don't address like that.
Right.
And it's important because we are crossing cultures, and sometimes we forget about that. And also, like, that's something special about you, is the way that that balance, like, people don't only see your channel because of the interviews, because it's because you talk about what needs to be talked about. Okay. So that's like, I came across your channel because of My Secret Love, because that iconic interview with Brooke, and because of Jamie. But then I started to see, and I was like, they know how to talk, because usually we want to talk about some serious issues, but the problem is how to address to it without wanting to just say what the fans want to hear, because usually that's what people do, or to engage in a serious discussion that won't get us anywhere. So that's something special. And the way that you also promote the interviews, it's like, as you said, we don't have that image of like, it's you with them. No, it's like you for us with them. And that's very special, because usually when people start getting many interviews with actors, they start like reaching like like this level, like, I'm here and you are here.
I'm better than you sort of attitude. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's something that makes you special, because I've learned that it's not about the quantity of followers and people it's how you do that engage with people. Like, you can be a small channel or like just beginning, but if you have quality, you'll go further than like, oh, I know this and this and I did that and I have money to do this. Like that won't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, anyone could throw money at something and achieve something, but like, is it really an achievement? And are you really creating anything? Because we've created a community with like people like that can have discussions and can disagree without being like toxic to each other. So yeah, I mean, I've changed my opinion a lot of times like since we started. A lot. But that's like because I feel like it's the podcast and the community around it, like it's an open, safe space that we can discuss things and we can change our opinion if we're presented with like new facts that you didn't think about before. So
yeah. The community is very important because as you said, like there's that sense of like family, you know, like you can talk, you can disagree, you can say whatever you want, because at first people know that you will present the facts why you think like this. So it's like, I'm going with the wave, like they think this, I'm going to think this too. No, you're like, I think this because in my opinion is this, this and this, but you also give space for people to be like, you don't have to agree with me. So that's the thing that is very special about you, because it's like you support like people like me that have like that little channel, and you talk with other fans, like that's like you put everyone on the same level, and it's very important because even the artists realize that you are like just normal people not wanting to take advantage of them to rise. So that's why I invited you, and I always keep like close, because we know that not everyone around is like that. I have a lot of experience about that, and so I think it's very important because it's about also like those connections. Imagine like I have also like from talking and from the interviews, and I think in the end of this month I will do an interview. I don't know how I got that. I'm still like I think I'm still waiting for them. I'm still waiting for them to say like, oh no, maybe I don't want to, because that's too surreal. But I was like, I told the girls, and the girls were like, oh, but if you need, I can do this, and the other, and someone just like, I can do that. So it's like, if you remain humble, people will start trusting you. And because somehow you end up being friends, not even like, not just with the actors, but also with the managers. And people don't realize that like you do an interview and you can remain friends with the people, because it's not like, because you don't talk about it, it doesn't matter, it doesn't happen. And I've seen that like in my small group, we all know who we are friends with, and some people are like, if they knew, and I'm like, they won't, because people don't need to know that, because the moment they know, whoever you know, they'll be like, first they will start judging you, and then they'll be like, so that's why you get this. It's not because you work hard, it's not because you write scripts, it's not because you don't sleep waiting for interviews, or just like you don't research, it's just because you know this person. But so I think this is something very important that people don't see, because to get to the interview, we have the scripts. I don't know if you were ever asked to send the scripts to some managers.
All the time.
So, sometimes even like when we first initially reach out for the interview, they want the script before they even like confirm the interview itself. So we're like scrambling to like come up with like questions or like examples of questions we would ask in the interview, and like it's hard because we do like to bring on fan questions and stuff like that. So, you know, like we're in that situation right now where someone has asked for what the script would look like beforehand while we're in the like planning process, and so we're like, okay, we have to brainstorm like a bunch of questions, and you know, this is what fans might ask, this is what we might ask, these are some ideas. And so that's definitely like, at this point I just kind of like naturally will send over the script beforehand, just so like we don't want the actors to be blindsided by a question that they wouldn't feel comfortable asking. I mean, obviously we can use our own judgment and like for the most part, not include questions that are very obviously like weird or invasive, but it also helps to have the manager's standpoint being like, we'd prefer they're not asked about this situation or how this happened or something like that. So it's just kind of become like natural to make sure we get it okayed by the manager beforehand, just for like the comfort of everyone involved. And a lot of the times they do ask for it. So it's just kind of become a habit.
Yeah. I mean, like talking about controversial stuff and situations and stuff like that is not something you should do to the face to the person involved. Like that is not polite and it's not like it's not interesting. Like it's very rude to put someone on the spot like that. So we can like put that stuff in its own episode where it's just us talking and speculating and informing, but we would never put like invasive questions to a guest because they're a guest and we're just having like a casual nice time. We're not supposed to like put them on the spot and do this whole expose.
Yeah.
Like that's very important. I hope that whoever listens this understands that like we have to, like, they are people, okay? They are actors. They it's their job. So it's a job, a normal job. So confronting them with situations that sometimes it's not their fault. It's something like this industry is weird. Inviting them to corner them and ask that, it's so bad. Like we also do that, like we send the scripts, but also we say like if there's anything you don't want to talk about, or like if during the interview you decide that you no longer want to answer this, like just tell me, because I will just because I know
editing.
I think that's something that makes them very comfortable, knowing that if somehow they don't feel well or they need to stop, but they don't want to answer, like they are comfortable to know that you are not going to put that, you're going to edit that out. Because I know that some managers, and I've had that, they are very afraid because they had bad experience before. So when you reach to them, they're like, please don't be like them. Please just like listen to me and understand that I'm asking you to just like to talk, because well here, and I know that probably you also do that, like you avoid certain types of questions, and as in Dream BL we avoid ships, like we avoid that a lot, ships and like
fan service questions are usually off topic, like it's their job. It's not like something like, even if it was their private life, it's their private life. So
exactly.
Louder please. That's what people like. Now I don't have that questions when I ask fans to send some question, but in the beginning people like, is he single? Like, why are you watching the series because he's single?
Doesn't matter.
Get a lot of that.
And sometimes like I try also to avoid any question that may lead to personal life. Like if they want to talk, if they bring the topic and they feel comfortable, they talk. But like I try to avoid everything that links to like, oh, my sister does this or my mom goes there. Like I'm always like, please don't talk about your personal life, because there's a lot of people watching this, and we don't know whoever is watching. Exactly. So that's something that I hope people understand, that before we are going to interview people, especially you, that you have like a big channel now, and you have now the experience of many people, many types of actors and managers, like there's all this work behind the scenes that we don't see, like the prepping, the script, making sure that they know for what they are coming, and making sure that they know that they can trust you, because I know that some actors sometimes are so afraid to do stuff because of the bad experience, especially when you come across to someone who had like a bad experience, like in the previous month or something, like in the small time, their trust issues is like them, and you're trying to convince them, and you know that they are not comfortable. So also another thing, how do you deal like with the language barrier? Like I know that like for me, I like to have my interpreter. Like even when he said, and people say like we speak English, I'm like no, but they're still going to be here because we never know. But how do you deal with that? Like it's something that makes you nervous because you are trusting the translator. Like usually it's people that we trust, but you are trusting that the information is not being lost between So how is your experience with that? And even with addressing to the managers, like do you send in English and in Thai? How do you like do that?
Yeah, so early on, like I said, for that reason, I originally just focused on actors who we knew were fluent in English, like Drake and Perth and that kind of stuff. And then, obviously that's a limited pool. So we came to a point where we kind of wanted to expand more and see what our options would be. So we did kind of put it out there, we have the option of having an interpreter if that's something that would make the artist feel more comfortable. And now that is something we put out in every message that we send. We have an interpreter available that per the artist or the manager's preference, they can be there for the interview, however you guys prefer it. It was hard early on because it took us a while to find like one person like within the community that we could trust. So we had, like when we had Lin Yu on, he needed a Mandarin interpreter and we didn't have someone in our circle who spoke Mandarin. So we ended up having to hire someone off of Fiverr, I think it was. And, we had a couple instances with our Thai interviews where we had the same situation as well, because, we just couldn't lock in someone who could consistently join us for interviews and stuff like that. And luckily we have since done so with both a Thai and Korean interpreter who both are like listeners of the podcast, who basically offered to help us in that situation, which was really cool. And they've both helped us out a couple times. But I think it's definitely hard when you're hiring someone and, they're on a call and it's your first time meeting them and your first time meeting the artists. And a lot of the times they haven't been familiar with BL. So, when I was reaching out to them, I kind of had to explain, we're talking about this like queer Asian TV show and this is what the show is, this is what the synopsis is, and they would go do their own research. But you never know how someone might feel about joining an interview about BL and stuff like that. So it was hard those times when we were bringing on someone who was outside and wasn't familiar with the community, and we didn't know how it would go. And luckily they all went fine.
Really well.
Yeah. We lucked out on that part because I know you never know if you're hiring someone from like Fiverr or Upwork, they could have raving reviews, but in the moment things might happen. It might not go the way you expected, but they all ended up working out really well. But yeah, I think it's always like, there's always that fear of like, is what we're asking going to get translated over well? And there are times when it doesn't, and you have to, re-explain the question in a different way, or, you and the interpreter have to go back and forth for a little bit, or the interpreter and the artist have to go back and forth, kind of just understanding the question. And, that's one of those times when editing is nice, or, sometimes we even just leave it in because it's natural to like ask for a question to be elaborated on. But, I think early on, it was definitely hard to find that flow of like us going to the interpreter, going to the actor, and then coming back through the interpreter to us. And you can tell that like some of those interviews feel a little bit more awkward than we typically like them to, because we weren't used to it. But I think we have, since, we've expanded and brought on a lot more actors who prefer to speak in Thai or their native language, we've definitely found more of a flow with it. So yeah, it's been a learning curve for sure, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting when we did with Jamie there as an interpreter, because she is such like, I love her. She is such an instigator. Like
she's something special. Like
I love her.
she helps a lot, especially that like she tries to build that bridge between, and she's very funny. So like that awkward moment doesn't happen with her. Yeah. But I know the feeling, because when we started, it was also like we have two translators, two Thai translators native. One is for like writing the scripts and translating the invitation, like everything that is written, it's done with Tree. She never appears. She likes to be in the shadows, so people only know Tree for the name. But she does everything. She translates all the invites, because we also had like a bad experience with, because in the beginning it was just me and I was doing the same, like trying to reach out to people I knew that somehow knew English, but sometimes the managers don't know English. So it was very hard. And then I said like, no, I'm going to send everything in Thai and then explain that I have a translator, because I don't speak that at all. So and when we start doing interviews, we have to find a translator. My problem was someone to trust, like someone that would, as you said, like would be comfortable doing interviews about BL, and also I could be like secure to know that they were translating what I said. And Gappy is like, he's very special, because usually I have to tell him last minute, because that's the problem between scheduling. Like we have to know like, oh, it's next week at this time, because that's the only slot we have. And usually he says yes. And the first interview we did, that was like one of the guests spoke a lot and very fast. And in the end, he called me and he was like, so for I may have something that the person said, because it will take a lot of time, and they were like drifting away, and so I was trying to not lose information. But yeah, like I feel that having the interpreter there, even when people speak English, or at least like this last interview that we're about to air was a surprise, because I thought they didn't speak English, and they started the interview in Thai with our translator, and they said to him like, she doesn't know we speak English, so we're starting to speak in English. And I was like, okay, so you are fluent, that helps a lot. But I already had guests that only accepted because we had a translator, because they told us that they wouldn't feel comfortable trying to speak a language that is not theirs. And that's something people have to understand, like that necessity of having people speaking in English, like for some of us here, it's not even our first language. So it's something that people have to understand, that for us, like we are used to it because we have to. It's the way that we have to connect with everyone. But like there's some cultures and in some countries that speaking English is definitely not like the priority. So
absolutely.
We have to talk with them in the language they feel comfortable in.
I've always like thought that even if they know a little bit of English, I would prefer if they just did it in Thai and we could interpret it, because expressing yourself in a language that you're not like used to is very hard. So getting like a good answer or getting their true feelings or something like that in English when they're not like used to expressing themselves in it is very hard. So it's much better to just let them talk in Thai and let the translator translate.
Yeah, that's something everyone should like understand. It's like let them speak in their native language, because sometimes they ended up not wanting to address to fans or something, because they know the moment they appear like, please speak English, like no, I don't want to do this. So that's not something I'm not like signing up for. So that's very important. So now something like controversial, but not that bad. So did you have any unpleasant experience, like without naming, of course, but like, did you had like someone you expect, like just not that they would accept, but like would be kind, and then you get like an answer, you're like, maybe I don't want to do this anymore, or like having like passing the manager that actually may be nice, but then getting to the person, you're like, okay, maybe I was wrong. So
I can't remember if we've had any like bad experiences with anyone we've talked to. I think like the one thing that I've like really remember that was a little bit was that someone demanded money for coming
That's what I was
on.
gonna bring up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we were told pretty early by a guest, like the months early when we started, that usually in Thailand it's very unusual to pay to be guests
For an
on
interview.
something.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a information transaction, like they get exposure, we get an interview sort of deal. So they told us that, yeah, if someone asks for money, that's not normal. So having someone like that blatantly ask for money just because we're a foreign podcast was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like that's something that like it's very different, and I also was warned about that, because here in Portugal, at least, it's different, the relationship between media and podcasters and the artists. And also I was like, in Thailand, people don't do that. Okay, they're like, even if you're small or big or a radio or TV show or anything, it's more like a win-win. So be careful with that. I don't think I also had a bad experience. Like, I think the only time that was like not bad but like uncomfortable, let's just say, was like I was talking with a manager. Some artists have two managers, like for the foreign people to talk with them, and like the native. And the main manager was very kind. They're like, oh, I want you to do that. Okay, so let me pass to my colleague that will handle you. And I'm still waiting. So or like being left on red, it also happens.
That happens a lot.
That's a daily occurrence.
I do. Alexa, the moment where you were talking to a manager and then they suddenly started ghosting you, and that person came on a different podcast. That was sort of.
Oh, I remember that.
now I'm bitter about it again.
Yeah, we're sort of
someone bitter. I really, really would have been like really excited to talk to.
Trying to get in contact with them, like since we started this podcast.
Yeah, and like we were making progress with their manager, and they were like, "I'm passing it on to our team so they can review your proposal," and then like. We started getting left on red, and then eventually my messages weren't even getting read, and then a month or so down the line they were on another podcast, and I was like, obviously it's not the artist's fault, because they probably didn't even know that we were in the running for like an interview with them, but I was just like, that was really frustrating. Now I'm angry again.
I know the feeling, like exactly the same exact feeling, like trying so hard to reach someone, and then like you're not like getting it, and like sometimes I don't know if you accept, like, okay, maybe it's because we're not that known, or maybe it's something like, and then a month, like 1 week, 2 weeks later, really, thank you. Thank you. Say,
she was like, you need a lighting change.
I was saying that like it happened already, like 1 week, 2 weeks later, you see the episode airing and they're like, oh,
like,
okay, that makes sense now. And like, did you ever get like not like, okay, like not naming anyone, because whoever knows. Did you ever have like a similar lineup, like something like you work very hard to like trying to bring like that special month, and then you look and you're like, really? Is this actually happening? Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely happened before. And I think it was when it started happening, I feel like we were really taken aback, because not to say that like we were the only BL podcast out there interviewing actors, but like for a while we kind of were like there weren't many live action BL podcasts, and there weren't many doing interviews. So like when it started coming up, and like it's cool to see that like the artists are being more like open to doing international interviews, and we're getting these experiences for international fans and seeing like all the interviews are different and stuff like that. But I do think it's like there's a sense of like competition, like especially if you have an interview with the same artist coming out in the same month, and like maybe it shouldn't be competition, but you're both BL podcasts and you're both putting out an interview with this artist within a couple weeks of each other.
But I don't think it's just the competition aspect of it. Yeah, of course, like there is like a sort of feeling of competition, but at the same time, if you like sort of have like this connection to each other, you have like a open line of talking, like you can be friendly to each other on the internet, you can be supportive of each other and hype each other up, then that's fine. But when you have someone who is blatantly ignoring you and not like they are acting like they are better than you, then it sort of becomes like a sore spot.
Yeah,
exactly. Like we had that like the exact same lineup, like just exchanging the places, like, but exact same and like for me it's the beginning and I do everything alone, so it takes a lot of work. And when that came out was like one of the friends I made throughout like the BL world, and she got the information. She told me like, this is this week's, and I was like, why? Like it's not, as you said, it's not like we are the only ones doing this, but we know that, and you may know that sometimes there are actors that only you care about, because there's everyone has like that special person or group of people that you support more than the others. Like it's not that we don't like every actor, sometimes we don't, but like it's not like we don't like every actor, but clearly you establish connections with some series or some group of people. And when you see that no one cares about them, you're like, so this is the opportunity to get people knowing them, and then suddenly you see the same, you're like, really, are you actually doing that? Because we could like help each other, as you said. Like it's not the matter of being a huge channel or a small channel, because you know that even when we are small, you may have stronger connections. Like
absolutely,
you never know like the amount of people someone knows. Just because they don't brag about that doesn't mean that they
aren't there.
Exactly.
I mean, if we are like to grow as like a community, as like BL or content creators, if we want to grow in that space, we need to work together, because we like pull views, and that like trickles onto every other reactor, podcaster, whatever, so that more podcasts are popping up is a good thing.
Absolutely.
But like we need to interact, we need to like talk to each other, we need to have like that
be like a camaraderie going on.
Exactly. Like something I always do, and I know for sure that you also do, is like trying to avoid to ask the same questions other people did, or like if someone has like a style of questions, because some people has like their brand questions. We don't do that. Like we know that like that's something of them, that's their way to do something. Like we can, there's so many things to ask them, and there's so many ways to like
make it entertaining.
Exactly. If you see your fave being interviewed by someone, like you want to like cheer up for both, for the podcaster and the artist. It's like, no, now I get it. I have to get that interview and being better. Like better for us. For what? Like at least I don't do money from this. If someone does, like if someone does, explain it, because we do this. At least I know you do that, and me too. We do this for fun. Like or give
100%.
Exactly, and to give the interfans an interview that they can understand. Okay, that's why I started to do it. Was not like, oh, now I want to interview everyone. It was just because there's so many interviews out there in English, but there's not many, and probably like 10% translated in English, in Portuguese. Like there's no Portuguese official content. So that's something I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying, like I bother, there's some journals and magazines online that I only like, can I like do like translate for Portuguese, wherever you want.
Awesome.
So that's why usually why I start as well, like because I want to know everyone. Like of course I'm a fan, but not like it's not because knowing them that I'll be better or worse than someone. So now going like to the interview itself, like the interview. You start the interview, you have the script. How many times you go off script? Like
the whole time.
We've gotten a lot better to keep to the script though, like a lot better. Yeah. But like Heather is usually in the background and she might like throw questions in there in the middle of the interview. So suddenly there's more in our sheet. Yeah. And we'll take some out too, but
yeah. I definitely think it depends on the guest. I think when you're relying on a translator, you know, it's a little bit harder to kind of get into those off-topic tangents because the translator is also following the script, and like if you throw something random in, it can put them on the spot too. But then, you know, you have people like Perth where you have a 3-hour interview and only 1 hour of it is actually like, I think that whole thing was just his tangents and we just like turned it into an interview. So, I mean, and like when it's just us, like our script might as well not exist because like we just kind of talk at each other. But yeah, I definitely think like when you're in an interview setting, you can kind of read within the first couple minutes, like even if there's a translator, you know, there's artists that are more willing to kind of just like go and be comfortable flowing with like a more casual conversation. And I think we've gotten pretty good at like reading what the vibe of an interview will be. If it'll be on the more formal side or if it'll be a more like, we can be super jokey and kind of tease this person type situation. So definitely like, it depends on the guest. And I'm sure you have the same experience of like, kind of reading the vibe within the first like couple questions and seeing where it goes from there.
Yeah, like in the beginning, our translator was like, please send me the whole script and please stick up to that. And eventually there's in the interview I did with Momo, Onde, and Dice, there's a part where he starts talking with Onde, and I'm like, please, someone.
What you guys talking about?
And then like I understand some things, but I was like, please be nice to translate everything for me after. And then he translated, and in the end he was like, oh, I wanted to know more because I wanted to give people something more about the question you asked. So I was like trying to get information. I was like, okay, it's totally fine, but next time just like warn me, like give me a tip, because I was just smiling, like I'm understanding,
just smile and wave.
But yeah, I also try to stick up to the script, but like for example with Momo, it's amazing to interview her because she's very nice. She's like you are talking with a friend, you're not like talking with the artist. So we went like off, and usually we have like the interview itself, and then in the end we have like the teasers, because as we are just two, we try to do the teasers so we can gain some time to edit and not have people waiting too much. So in the end we have the teasers, and usually the teasers goes well, but there was this one teaser that I don't know how the editor, she saved that, because still now I know that we were talking, I was questioning, he was answering like right away, and then the vibe went like not awkward, but like it went from super casual to more like flirt, you know, like little shades of notes. And then in the end I was like, I don't know if this was the point of it. I actually thought about not airing that, you know, like I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this, because I don't know if you have that fear sometimes that like you are trying to like talk, you are casual with actors, and there's questions you may feel like they want to answer and you are comfortable asking. But then in the end, when you are watching, you're like, what the fans are going to think? Like, people always find something to raise the discussion about.
Take out of context.
Exactly. And sometimes when I'm watching, I'm like, should I put this? Should I edit this out? Because people may read this in a way that is different of the initial goal. So
we had like one situation with an actor where we were going back and forth. Should this be in here? Should this not be in here? Will the fans misunderstand it? So it can be a little hard at times to know what to put in there. But Kayla does our like, she goes through every episode after we record it, and she's like our moral lead on what should be in there and what shouldn't be.
Kayla says to cut it, then we cut it.
But that's very important. Like, we also, like, our editors should know more about her. And sometimes she, one thing that I like about her, she's brutally honest. So sometimes when because she has a lot of controversial opinions, and that's something we like, because she's not afraid to speak up. And sometimes she's like, this shouldn't be here because people will understand this, and this, and you will have trouble because of it. So I'm not putting this. And sometimes she's like, do you want to risk? Do you want to try to see if people will understand or not? So there's one part of one interview that guest, what I was thinking, like, when we aired the interview, all his parts, I was like, please, people, don't overthink about everything that he thinks. And I eventually had problems with that. Because we knew that someone would like read the vibe in a whole different way, and people were addressing to me, I was like, for God's sake, just see the whole interview, just don't like
take it out. It's hard when things can get clipped out of context, or one sentence can be taken out of like the whole interview or episode. I think that's one of the good things about having three of us and us being like so very different in the way we approach things. So I know I'm the overly paranoid one. Like, I'm the person that's like, will people read this the wrong way? Like, does this sound weird? Like, does this get taken? Like, will this get taken out of context? And like, Pixie's the one who will just kind of like say whatever. And
whatever, just put it out there. It's fine.
And then that's why we have like Kayla, who is like the center. I feel like she has a good objective mind in reading things, so that's why we let them kind of like take on that aspect. But I think it's good to be able to like have these three different, and then Heather as well provides another perspective, and like get everyone's different interpretations about how some, because if it was just me, I would take out anything that could have like 20 minutes of interviews, because like I would be so worried about things being taken wrong. And then someone has to come and be like, you need to chill, because it's not going to be like that serious. So it's just good.
To be fair, most of the stuff we end up cutting is me saying something stupid.
Same here. Usually, like, there's a lot of things that we edit out because it's just me rumbling with them, and sometimes I'm like, maybe I don't want this to be there. So let's just cut. But that's very important, because although there's a written script that was approved by the managers, by the artists, and sometimes even just when we are doing the interview and when we word it out, it's when it hits us that maybe
like, that doesn't sound the way I thought it would, kind of thing.
Exactly. Sometimes we ask and they answer, and then we're like, I don't know if I want to still keep this here, because people, and there's a lot of people with different vibes, and sometimes people don't understand that when we are interviewing, especially because we are women, and we know that because we are women, because we are BL fans, we are seen in a way that we're, thankfully, you are helping to change that, and other podcasters are too. So that's good to have people like normal people, who knows what to ask. But as we have that pressure Like we know that. Sometimes, I don't know if you already had that experience, like you are vibing with someone and then you, in the end, you are like, maybe I don't know if I want to air this because like it's natural for me, but what will people understand of it? Like, because we know that there's a certain type of actors that has certain type of fandoms that anything you say or like any smile, anything will like be taken out of context. So yeah,
like,
sometimes
I don't want to be under attack for anything.
Yeah. But I do think like we haven't had any big problems with our interview episodes, like a lot of criticism for anything this far, at least. I can't remember any situation.
I never read anything wrong about you, and believe me, I go through like the good and the bad feedback before talking with someone, even artists. Okay? Like it's not because it's you. Like I try to understand if I'm going to be in trouble. Like I don't need that, so I prefer to stay on my lane. And actually, like you and other, it's more like they're like a magazine, but like the only ones that people don't have like a bad opinion about.
I hope so.
No, you are very loved. Like, believe me, you are very loved and very respected because you talk about not only BL, not only artists, but you address to LGBT community, which is very important because usually when people are in the BL and when they start to interview actors, they're just sticking to their fame and what they do, and they forget there's a whole community behind this. So this is not like a content just for all the fans, but it's a content that is trying to raise awareness for a community, and that's why you are so loved, because you know how to position yourself on it, and you know when to talk, about what to talk, you know how to position yourself, and you know how to say what needs to be said, because sometimes the fans can go really wrong, and like they can do something, not even the fans, also some artists, like they're people, they have flaws. So there's sometimes, of course, there are people some people try to put them in the God's place, and we know it's not like that. And that's why I think you are so loved, because you talk about everything, not just artists, not just fans, but also like companies, series, like everything. You're not afraid to speak up and to tell everything. So, and you don't act like you're superior. So that's why like I don't know anyone that doesn't like you. There may be, but like they're lost. They're lost.
We had like a panic moment when we heard like someone on a Discord server were talking about us and saying that they didn't like us and stuff, but it turned out they were talking about another podcast and they just had the name wrong.
I know that I never had heard anything wrong about you, but we know that sometimes other podcasters and other YouTubers, I don't think they do that on purpose. I hope not. Like at least I try to keep an open mind, like but like okay, I think that's the elephant in the room. Are you happy? Can I talk now? Okay, now she's going to take a look. We have a new guest, Emma. But I was saying, like, sometimes when people do, it's not like bad interviews, but when they address to certain type of questions that we avoid for respect to artists and to managers, but they address to it because they know that will bring like more people.
Clickbait.
Exactly. And we've seen that a lot. And I know, and I had like this interview that I'm going to do, the manager was like, please just don't do that, because we don't. I know that you don't do, because I sent the channels like, just see for yourself what we ask. Like, we're just kids talking around. Usually I'm older than them, so I never interview anyone older than me, so I'm always like,
me neither.
It's hard. There's only a few out there that are over that age limit for them to be older than you.
The youngest I interviewed was like 20. He just had turned 20. I was like, you're a kid. For me, you're a kid. So
well, we interviewed the My Secret LoveCast, Kenji. Oh, Chris is like 17. Oh my god, I forgot about that. And him and Kenji, I think, was also, he just turned 18. So you know, we would have like an existential crisis, like doing research and finding their birthdays, and they were born in like 2004. And you're like,
I remember that. Everyone was just like, okay, check ages before you check anything else.
Exactly. That's something I learned to do, like, let me check the age first. Because when I interview Ice, I thought he was older than me. And he's younger. And then when, like, in the end of the interview, and someone said like, oh, you know, he's younger. And I was like, okay, so maybe. But like, I know that doing the whole interview, like trying to get the right vibe and trying to always connect with actors, because we know that some interviews may be more casual, but others are more formal, because it's not that they don't like to do that, but I think they're very afraid, and they are so exhausted of like having bad experience that just fun service, you know, just like, I'm going to do this because it's good for you, it's good for me, but like, just this. I don't want like, and also because I think that like the after interview, I know that you do that, we do that, like we have like that recap of the whole interview, what we can do better, what we should avoid in the future. And when it comes to the time of like promoting, I think people think that we somehow have some sort of contract with the actors that like we're going to air and they're going to promote us. It isn't like that.
No, not at all.
It's a gamble.
It's like some of them may be happy and be like, oh, I did this interview with these people, but some of them are like, just like,
most of them
I don't care. It's like, I did my part, now you promote if you want, you don't promote if you don't want. So it's like, I don't care.
We don't really have any expectations when having actors on. I mean, I feel like it's nice of them to even come and talk to us. So I don't like, I would never put on them to have to promote us as well. But when they do, it's very nice, and it's very giving, and it feels very nice. Like the relationship we have with Perth and Pan. Alexa is flirting away with Pan on social media.
Let me have my moment.
That's special. Like, we like to see that. So that's special.
Yeah, and we love having those, but we would never put that on someone that came on as a guest, because we haven't hired them to promote us. Like
I think the most we'll do is like, we let them know when the episode's going to air, and then usually I'll tell their manager, like, if I follow up afterwards, we'll tag them on social media, and you know, this is when things will be going out if you're interested in reposting it. But like, never any expectations. We've gotten a lot of good rapport with like their fan clubs, because I think they're always really open to promoting things. So I'll usually send like the fan clubs a message and be like, hey, we did this interview with so-and-so actor. We want questions from fans, or it'll be airing on this date if you're interested in helping us spread it to, you know, the fan base, because obviously that's who the fans of those people are going to be following. It's the fan club. So I think they've been really, really helpful for us in recent months, and they're usually always really open to helping us spread the word about things. But I would never, like, we never have an expectation that like, why didn't this actor repost us on his Instagram story, or why didn't he retweet this tweet about us? You know, like that expectation is never there for them.
You know, that's something that people don't know, and I start to have more aware of this. Like, people don't actually know that we don't have contract. Like it's not the contract. Like we don't
didn't
say
agree to like post a certain amount of things, or they repost a certain amount of things.
Like, we know that there's people who do that because, you know, and you see many posts with the same language. We know we are in the industry, so you know when it's like staged and when it's like natural.
Paid promotion,
like, exactly. But like we don't do that, and some people don't understand that. Sometimes it's more important, as you said, to have the fan clubs. Not like, of course we are like very thankful whenever the artist does that, but like I've interviewed one artist that said like, I don't repost because I want to be neutral for everyone, and if I repost one,
you have to repost everything.
Exactly. And he was like, there's some that I end up regretting doing, but I don't want to tell the people, so I prefer to actually not promote. Like I can comment, I can like, but I won't repost anything. Because
that makes sense.
I didn't understand because in the beginning I was like, okay, like he doesn't want, because when the lineup was like combined, their interviewers aired first in the other place, and I was like, okay, and there wasn't any promotion. I was like, but this is not usual because I've seen the way of working. I was like, this is a first. Like they didn't promote anything. Like we are used to see like that bait and everything. And when I aired like the teaser, he was like, I'm not going to do this. It's not because I don't like, but I have this way of working.
So
and I think that people don't understand this. It's like it's like a lucky strike to have them with us. It's not because it's not like we just snap our fingers and it's like, oh, we're going to do this. Especially like you. I think people think when you have like a big channel, you just don't work for that. It's wrong. I know that you guys work a lot, and I know like the whole process, because it's even when the episode airs on YouTube, there's work after that. And there's always fears and doubts, like, did we get this? Like, so that's something that I want, like the goal of this is to raise awareness for that, like to tell people that it's not just interviewing the actors and just getting there and putting online, and it's not, no, there's work, there's sometimes things that like needs to be edited out because don't go the way we want. There's like even the after, like some interviews have a better engagement than others, like
definitely.
And sometimes like I don't know if you ever had that experience, like wanting to interview someone and like not happening, but then not expecting someone, and like even the person's like, well, we can do this, and you're like, okay.
Absolutely.
All the time.
I think I don't know if it's a misconception, but honestly, we still get left on red and declined for interviews way more than we get acceptances. Or, you know, there's a lot of stuff that gets left in the talking stage of like, we'll check with their schedules and check back with you, and then like it never progresses beyond that. So, you know, it's always still like very exciting for us whenever we are able to confirm one. You know, it's not ever something I think we'll get used to. And it's definitely still something that takes a lot of work and a lot of rejection behind the scenes. And, you know, I think a lot of managements are still understandably wary of going on an international podcast. You know, there's expectations about what a podcast is and what kind of interview it will be. And like, you know, there's might be discomfort there, and like, that's totally fine. And like, we totally understand that. And so, I just think, you know, it is still a lot of work and a lot of messages left on red and people saying no and that kind of stuff. And I don't think that's ever going to change no matter how big we get, you know. But it's always still exciting whenever it does, you know, get confirmed. And especially when you said like, if it's someone you weren't expecting, we've had situations where we messaged someone months ago and then they get back to us one random day and are like, yeah, sure, let's do the interview. So, you know, that kind of stuff is always exciting when it happens.
It has this one that I'm going to do, I hope so. It was like that type of thing. Like I don't remember when I sent the first message. Like I don't remember. Probably like in January or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
then
it's
you just
like
randomly like, okay.
like okay, he may have like a slot in his schedule in this day. And it's like, really? Okay, so
good. Yeah, I think a lot of people might think that this isn't like hard to do, but in reality, it's a lot of work. It costs a lot of money. Luckily, we are now at a point where we have Patreons that cover our editing costs and having podcasts on Spotify and stuff like that cost money. And the only place we're getting any revenue outside of that is on YouTube, but we're talking like €10 maybe a month. So
that's very important. Like that's something very important. Like people don't understand that we spend money, and sometimes it's the money. It's sometimes not, like most of the time it's our money. It's not like money that the fans give us. It's not money that someone gave us. Like we work, we are normal people, have normal life, we work, and we take that money we make from our work here, because there's a team working, and sometimes we have to hire people. And like the translators are not like, for example, for me, like my editor is for free, it's for in the team, but the translators are not, so I have to pay them. And people don't understand that. And also like the time zones, we have to work with that. And like for whoever has kids and whoever like works a lot, and especially like for shifts, it's not easy to like exiting a long shift and then having to do an interview, and you have to, you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't want to do this, but like you have to keep like that straight face and like, oh, it's everything good, and
keep
I'm having
energy up, and
so people don't understand that. And sometimes like also like I don't think you had that, and I had the opposite, so I'm very happy I have the opposite thing. But like some people, we are expecting like teddy bears, you know, like very happy, and then we're like giving a reality they're not expecting, and then we have to rethink our way to work. And that's also something people don't understand. Like they're people, they are acting, they are paid to act. So what we see, it's sometimes not what they are, and it's not wrong. Like it's their work,
it's their job.
They are not obligated to have any sort of image for us. Like they just have to do their series and like the promotion because it's on their contract. But apart from that, they don't own anything to the fans, even if the fans somehow think that like, oh, I gave this, so I have to have this back. Like it doesn't work like that.
That's not the reality. No,
we end up getting these connections, and it's not because we bribed someone, it just happens. But most of the time it doesn't. Like you do the interview, it ends, and you go both ways. So that's something that people have to know. Like there's a lot of work, there's a lot of effort, dedication, and sometimes we don't know. Like we have this image of someone, and luckily it always have been good, but someday we may be confirmed someone, like we're expecting something, and then like, oh, okay, so how am I going to do this? So because although it's for fun, it's work, it's still work, because we have like that duty of being like portraying the image of fans in a way that it's like sometimes it's not the way they know, because poor guys, they go through the social media, and sometimes even us we read stuff and we're like, okay, maybe it's not. And
it's a free world, and there are plenty of podcasts out there, and there are plenty of people who will just talk about fluff and try to pander to everyone, and I just don't want us to be one of those. Like, we have a unique perspective. We are three very different women in three very different situations, in different age groups, different sexualities. Like, we have a lot of perspective on our side, so it's important that we utilize that, even if it's gonna make some people mad.
That's very special, like I also have that. Like, some of my friends call me the queen of unpopular opinions, because you often, like, there's like this shift or something. Like, sometimes it's the shifts of the actors I like, but when I'm tweeting or doing something, I always put like separated tweets, and people are like, why do you do that? Because it's the way I do. I won't entertain people who are like shift driven. Like, if you want that, you have, like as you said, you have space for that. There's people who will do that and will actually like clickbait on you for that, so like, go. I don't do that, especially because I think that when we start connecting with actors and like going through the behind the scenes, we start having a perspective of the off camera. Okay, like what is not broadcast, what happens when there's no series, there's no cameras, there's no reporters around. And when we start like talking with those people, they start sharing the things, and we start understanding more. It's not like we didn't before, but we start understand like the depression and everything. Like, I have someone that is very close to me that I had to walls like, please censor this or censor that. And I don't think like 2 years or 3 years ago I would have even think about it. That was just a story of an actor be like, oh, that's nice. I would like not analyze everything. And especially when there's like problems, I try to avoid that. Like, I don't speak about it. And if I do, I like, it's my opinion. If you don't like, it's not my problem. Like, I'm just expressing myself. We're very different, and like, people know that I'm like that annoying person is like, please don't do this on live, please respect artists for this. So it's like, my brand image is like annoying people to know how to respect the artist more than making content.
People need that reality check, I think, sometimes.
And that's very needed, because it's when we are doing this for fans, because we're not doing this for the actors, we're doing this for fans. But I don't think, and I hope not, people don't expect us to be just like fake, because if they're expecting that, your channel is not for them, my page is not for them. Like, no. Like, as you said, we are people who have different perspectives, and like even the cultures and everything, it's something that we all, like all of us, try to raise awareness for that. Like, okay, so to end the interview, like, in a funny thing, like the most funny thing that ever happened in your interview, like something that, like, best memory, something you didn't expect but like was funny and like you won't forget ever.
Oh, it's a hard question.
There's
a couple
so many
that are coming to mind.
I think for me, you select one.
I think for me, I'm never going to forget Pan beatboxing on the harmonica. And we really put him on the spot with that, because we found his YouTube video from like 5 years ago where he beatboxed while playing the harmonica, and he was ready to go when we asked him about it. I don't know, it was just like, I love it, and I love that kid, and I think it was really cool to see, and it's definitely like one of my favorite moments on the podcast so far.
What about you, Pixie?
I think for me, like the most fun experience, I will never forget our talks with Perth. I just they leave you with such an impression, because we went into those talks with not really a lot to like on the plate like a script or anything. That was before the script days. So and he just went off on tangents, and he was very open about a lot in the industry that we did cut out. But it was so much fun to be able to talk so openly and friendly with a person. So
what about you, Kayla? Something that stuck up with you?
I mean, a lot of our moments that end up being highlights, I think, are some of the most fun we've had, like the shirtless incident, or or Op inviting us to his room, like those responses that are really unexpected. But I also think for like a specific episode, I had a lot of fun during our episode where we talked to the Cutie Pie writers. And I think that Bam Bam is hilarious. She had me cracking up the whole time. Just the way that they all tell stories is so fun. So I think that was a big funny highlight for me.
Oh, and Jamie like hyping up Kenji and Boat. Hilarious.
Maybe something else, like I think like the shirtless incident was what brought me to you, so thanks for that.
Good to know.
Shout out to Poor for that one.
Because people know that I like him, and they were like tagging me like you did. I was like, what? And then I saw the interest, like, okay. Just him. Just him. I wouldn't expect anyone else to just like it's how he is. Okay, so thank you for this almost 2 hours. You are very amazing, and I want to express like my gratitude and my team gratitude for having you here, because I know you all have wives and kids and stuff, and it's weekend, so thank you for that. It was very funny and it was very interesting, and I hope that this may give people another perspective of the hard work you have. Like, it's not just tweeting, it's just not appearing online and just smiling and snapping fingers. That's a lot of work, that's a lot of process, that's a lot of unanswered messages. There's a lot of like not expectation, but sometimes things don't go as we wish, and so people should value that, because we are doing this for fans. You are doing this for them. You're not getting money of it. Like, you have support of your patrons, but like, you're putting your money on this, and there's a lot of things people should like be happy, and I hope that they value. So